And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brother Lewis, and I've been making videos pertaining to corruption within leadership. For those of you who are not familiar with the channel, if you click on my username, go to our channel page, click on videos, scroll down to number 68. It'll give you actually two videos there, one short, one longer, where there's details as to what this channel is all about. For those of you who actually have been here and you know what we're doing, then welcome back. I hope that you're enjoying this beautiful day that we've been given today. At this time, I want to go into a subject that I had actually spoken about before, and in so doing, I would like to actually do so with our friend and our brother who has frequented our channel, and quite a few of you ask about him quite often. We want to welcome back once again our brother and very talented and knowledgeable Brother Perry. How's it going with you again, sir?
Greetings as well. How about yourself?
Absolutely wonderful. As I was saying in one of the videos, I think the last one, no, actually it was some of the comments. Somebody had actually brought up the subject of witchcraft. I touched on that in one of the other videos, and maybe even two or three now. I'm certain that you have seen those videos where I talked about that briefly.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was there any thoughts that came to mind when I did touch on those things? I know that several other people began to comment on it. And I think particularly when I talked about the services where we have what they call and refer to as revivals. Did anything strike a nerve right off bat when you heard that video, or did anything else come to mind?
Well, I can't recall verbatim the video, but I know that it is something that I've already, I agree with. I've felt this way for many years, especially during a revival. But there is so much that we of the membership who have been indoctrinated subject ourselves to and participate in the witchcraft, and we don't even realize that that's what we're doing. For example, if you're driving down the street and you see a house of prayer coming up and you're about to pass by the house of prayer, you're in your car, you're still going to bow down when you cross that center door. You're going to lower your head or something. That's an example of our, being spellbound, but that's at the same time, that is us invoking it to ourselves. It's lowering ourselves towards it. But there's so much that we do, especially during revivals, and the abracadabra word is when the band plays.
Yeah.
Abracadabra.
What was that, back in the late 70s or early 80s? That song that came out?
Abracadabra.
Okay. People didn't even know that they were singing witchcraft. Well, like many other songs today, many people don't know that they're singing and involving themselves in witchcraft or rituals or satanic worship. I jotted down a few things and I was just looking over it. And I wanted to kind of go over this with you and kind of formulate perhaps some things that we could actually go into detail about in another video at length. So one of the things was teaching in the scripture. The term witchcraft by itself is actually used along with sorcery, wizardry, as well as the use of familiar spirits, necromancy, and all of these are practices in which a person seeks to manipulate or use supernatural powers that are not from above, right? Whether it's spirits of the dead, various dark arts, magical formulas, and even to the extent of spell casting. And it's interesting because one of the terms I talked about before that was actually used on the House of Prayer website. And let it be known also that this video is for educational and informational purposes only. But on the House of Prayer website, when Mr. Cunningham first did the things that he needed to do in order to put himself in the seat, I've often maintained that he did not win an election. There was no election. There was what appeared to might have been the setting up of an election, but an election was not actually carried out. In fact, we can even speak to that a little bit. But
yeah, I was hoping we would go into that a little bit today as well.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I actually had some recordings where I had shared right after the departure of Mr. Bailey, the former bishop of the House of Prayer. It looked as if, seemed as if, and sounded as if things were kind of hurried to get the people in line and behind the support of Mr. Cunningham at the time, who was, recall, the senior minister, the General Assembly secretary, and the head judge on the council, right? And you were aware of that, right?
Yes.
But for those who are watching and you don't know, Brother Perry, you are also aware, of course, that one person is not supposed to lawfully occupy those three positions, correct?
Right.
Right. It does create a conflict of interest. And so when I went to the General Assembly with my wife in 2023, it was my intent to try once again to get in touch with Mr. Bailey in private, or bring to the attention of the General Assembly itself the fact that it appeared that something was being set up. And I wanted to get with Mr. Bailey to inform him that you have things around you that you may not quite understand, and it would be easy for people to set him up and have him removed in order to put Mr. Cunningham in position to make himself the bishop. So after Mr. Bailey's departure, I played some recordings that showed several of the councilmen, state chairmen, making the equivalent of speeches on behalf of Mr. Cunningham around the country. The convocation season had been canceled, and in Washington, it was in Philadelphia that he had passed. In D.C., in Newport News, and in Charlotte, there were speeches by Mr. Taylor, who's now the pastor of Elm Street in Washington, D.C. At the time, he was in Savannah, Georgia, who happens to be also his godson. And he gave speeches. Mr. Howe also gave speeches, supposed to be the national representative. Mr. Gibbs, right, the chairman of Baltimore, and who happened to be the brother-in-law of Mr. Bailey also, he was giving speeches. Mr. Lattisaw, the chairman in Virginia. Mr. Sutton, the chairman in Augusta, right? All these chairmen are getting up to talk about Mr. Cunningham. And it was interesting because Mr. Gibbs got up and he gave a testimony of a private conversation he had with the former bishop about how he asked him whether or not he thought he made a good choice when he made Mr. Cunningham the senior minister. Now, all of this is interesting because it's right after the former bishop passed, and we know that we're preparing for an election coming up in October to elect a new bishop. And how did that sound to you when you heard that and learned that all of these chairmen and judges on the council are giving speeches on behalf of Mr. Cunningham and letting the people know that what they refer to as Addie is still alive. He's still here. He's here in this room. Can y'all feel him right now? Only when he's present, though. Mr. Cunningham would be present. At times, he would walk in the room while I remember Mr. Sutton, oh, I can feel him now. Don't y'all feel him? And people just, right? As he's coming in the door. And right after the same day of Mr. Bailey's departure, that evening when Mr. Cunningham arrived back in South Philly, it was Mr. Commodore, who also gave speeches, who said at this point in time, the next voice you hear will be that of our very own senior minister, Apostle A.D. Cunningham, right?
Wow.
How did that... Now, I didn't say anything yet, but how did that hit you when I just said that?
Well, that takes me back to the early 2000s, late 90s. I think it was early 2000s, though, when during pastors' anniversaries, pastors were coming down the center aisle, and Madison put a stop to that. He said, no, y'all come down the side aisle, and you don't say, he's here now, because people were saying that, he's here now. And the pastor and his first lady and all were coming down the center aisle with a big fanfare and all. He said, no, don't do that. That's reserved for the bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Come down the side aisle and don't say that he's here now. That's what it strikes me as, that same thing.
So would you agree that the councilmen were kind of prepping and conditioning the minds and the hearts of the people to see Mr. Cunningham already as the next bishop?
Yeah, but it's kind of like trying to fortify it. There's already a stigma that when someone is the senior minister, they are going to be the next bishop.
Right.
And, so whatever people think, even if there's somebody that you feel is more qualified or somebody that you feel should get into the seat, if there's somebody that has the title of senior minister, it's like understood, but that's your next bishop right there.
Mm.
And so for what you're saying that those gentlemen did, it sounds like they were just fortifying that.
And why would you say, I have also alluded to the fact that they all were giving these speeches because they had also been privately prepped to prepare the people, to condition them to receive Mr. Cunningham long before the date of the election would come up, so that there would be this sort of, like you just said, an anticipation that there's a knowing who the next one's going to be. We just have to make it official. Would you agree that the councilmen were in cahoots and in agreement in conditioning the people by giving all these speeches about Mr. Cunningham prior to the election?
I do agree.
Yeah. Now, mind you, what did you think when I said what Mr. Commodore said? The day of Mr. Bailey's passing, he went to South Philly, and they had brought the news to the members. This was convocation weekend, and Mr. Bailey left that Friday after council, and he did not make it back for service. But Mr. Commodore said, the next voice we hear will be that of our very own. How did that hit?
That's out of order.
Right. And
very much out of order.
Why, for those who are not members, why would that and those words be out of order for him to say as he introduced Mr. Cunningham?
Well, those words are words reserved for, of us who are indoctrinated. Those words are reserved for the man of God, for the elected one, the bishop. And to say that for the senior minister, the day that the bishop passes, that's disrespectful, for one thing.
Right.
But yeah, those words are reserved for him.
And I had even said in the video that I had put these things together that those words, to say that phrase, is in the house of prayer, the United House of Prayer for All People. To say that phrase would be the equivalent of the military band playing the song that the president walks in on, right? Dun, 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 dun.
Right.
You never play that song for anybody else. And for Mr. Commodore to use those words, he knew exactly what he was doing.
And he knew that would not fly in any other, in Madison's day. Even if Bailey was walking this earth during that would not fly. No way he would say that.
Not at all. And to make matters even worse, when he introduced him and he stepped up to the mic, he never corrected Mr. Commodore.
Wow.
He never said nothing about it, which shows that he knew what was going on as well. Now, this is the senior minister whose job it is to make sure that the entire organization is held together by enforcement of the laws of the organization, who allowed a general councilman to introduce him in a way that only the bishops of the United House of Prayer are introduced. And he said nothing whatsoever. He stepped up to the mic and started talking. And he listened to people as they began, right, speaking in tongues. So fast forward throughout the next few weeks, we would hear speech after speech after speech after speech until it got to the point that he would walk in the door and the council's ushering him and people coming up to him. And you can see that they're already treating him as if he's the next bishop.
Wow.
But what the people don't know, and what he was not aware that we know, is that all that time, he was already being treated like the bishop by staff around him.
Yeah, I heard they had already been chauffeuring him.
Exactly. And I put that in the video as well. He was being chauffeured around. He was being chauffeured around in the Maybachs.
Wow.
Right? And he was making stops, going to places. And what else they don't know that we know is that they were informing people that he is the next bishop. They were making plans already, letting people know, don't worry, he's going to take care of it when he becomes the bishop.
Wow.
Okay, now, with that in mind, as we got closer to the General Assembly, the Special Assembly, he made sure to have all of the pastors go back, have another House meeting, and for the House meetings, they had to renominate and re-elect new delegates for that General Assembly, the one that they're going to elect the bishop in October. Now
That's out of order.
Right, out of order, because you already had delegates from May.
Right, and that when you nominate your delegates in May, or what you probably do in April, you nominate your delegates. You do it with an understanding that they are the delegates for the next year, not for the General Assembly Memorial Day weekend, but for the whole year. They are the delegates, so that if a special assembly had to come up, you don't nominate a new delegate. You already know who your delegates are.
Right.
You just send them.
Just like it says about the General Assembly Secretary. Right? He is to be nominated for the period of annually. That's what it says, annually. So now, when we get to the General Assembly, he made sure, once again, that every house of prayer went through this. And for me and my wife, I let the pastor know where we were at, the congregation we were at, that we don't need to elect new delegates to the General Assembly. We already have delegates. He went on and made sure anyway that they had this election, and that, of course, me and my wife were not elected. Because the whole purpose of Mr. Cunningham as the senior minister / General Assembly secretary / head judge, the whole point was to send out orders to make sure that me and my wife would not get back to the General Assembly, because he knew that we knew that he had worked with the former bishop to manipulate the entire organization. So now when we they got there to the General Assembly in October 13th, I'm going to show pictures, because what happened was right after, well, first of all, during the election, there was one other young man who is an elder who nominated himself. Immediately, one of the councilmen got up. I believe it was Mr. Commodore. Same one who introduced Mr. Cunningham already as bishop. He had got up and let him know that he cannot nominate himself because he's not qualified to be nominated. And the reason he's not qualified to be nominated was, according to the new Constitution, which I had been trying to fight already. The new Constitution says that the bishop must be one of the ministers. And they told him that because you're not a minister, you're an elder, yes, but you're not a current pastor, you can't be nominated. And they used that technicality to disqualify him, which also was unlawful, because the entire Constitution was unlawful, because Mr. Cunningham, along with Mr. Bailey, had rigged or had fixed the Constitution and manipulated the organization. Now, the entire time, Mr. Cunningham knew this. So there was only one other name that was nominated, which was his. And then the council closed the floor for nominations. So he's the only name that's been nominated. What is supposed to happen if there's only one name nominated for a position? Automatic.
Close out on the one said name.
On the one said name, they close out. And automatically that one said name
fulfills the position that's being nominated for.
Fulfills that position. So all they should have done was just clap their hands. However, they took it a step further, and they had everybody get ready to vote anyway. They went through all of the procedures, had his name on a box, and I think there might have been 2 boxes with his name. And the people had to get up and put their put their vote in a box. And why did they do that? They said just to make it official, so it could be said that they actually had an election. Whenever people go out of their way to do extra things like that, to make stuff official, it's a red flag already. You know something is up.
Right.
Right? It's already official when they close out the floor on the one said name. So this is what happened to put him in the seat. Now, does that prove that he rigged it? Not yet. But the fact that the council was making speeches for him, the council nominated him, and the council closed the floor on the one said name after the council discredited one other individual who nominated himself in order to make sure that nobody's name would be up there as an option for the members to vote for.
And hold on. So there were absolutely no other nominees?
Exactly.
However, the previous year, I remember there was White, there was Bailey, Swaringer, I think Ladislaw. There were several. I want to say there's one more that I can't recall his name.
Foster Price, Ricky Price, but he turned it down.
Well, the rest of them did, but they were at least nominated, except for
Right.
Swaringer.
Right. Right. Swaringer, he was the other individual who accepted the nomination.
Right.
Right. Ricky turned it down, Ricky Price. Mr. Ladislaw.
White turned it down.
Right. So you had all these individuals, which, again, these were individuals that were nominated by council members. Now, if I'm not mistaken, maybe one individual nominated someone that was not a council member. And I was there in that General Assembly as well. But for this one, it was tightly controlled. They got up quickly to close the floor for nominations. Immediately after the floor was open, one of them got up to nominate Mr. Cunningham, and then the gentleman came up and nominated himself immediately almost, because I believe, well, I won't, you don't want people, becoming targeted for anything, so I won't say what I was about to say, but there's people in the organization who know what they're looking at, who know what they're seeing, right? So they made sure that he was not a factor by disqualifying him unlawfully. Keep in mind, Miss Mickey Bailey was present in the General Assembly. I think the judge was there, Judge Cuthbert, if I'm not mistaken. But they also had attorneys there, and they had a parliamentarian. Now, why would you go through all this trouble? Just to make it official, right? You're putting on too much to sell the idea that we did this, in all fairness. But he was, when they closed the floor for nominations, he was the only one that the people had a name to choose. And they went through the procedure of having the people come up, put their name in a box. They had to go behind the curtain. He's the only one whose name is there, and they got to go behind the curtain.
Wow.
And it made no sense. Like, who did you vote for? Everyone is only one person. So, boy. Here's where you know that it was rigged. Immediately after the so-called election, when he came outside, we showed the video where he looks up and he's pointing up at the sky and people, clapping outside, and he stands there for a minute to take in all this adoration. And he goes down the steps, and somebody pointed to someone at the bottom of the steps. Happened to be a shorter lady. And of course, turns out it's Mrs. Madison. And he stops on his way to the car at the bottom of the steps. He stops, go over to her, and he hugs her. and he hugs her for a few seconds. And then he lets her go and he makes his way to the car. First of all, what are you hugging her for?
I call it kissing the ring.
Yes. Yes. Because that's the boss. Right?
I remember when I first saw that on YouTube, he was coming down the stairs, and I'm like, who's that? Somebody said, that's Lady D. I said, oh, he kissed the ring.
Mm-hmm. And again, right? People, listen. So they go and they come back. When he comes back for the services on that night, this is the banner. Did I let you see that picture?
Yes.
Okay. The banner that was up on the, already up. Welcome, precious Addie Cunningham, to God's White House, Champion House.
Wow.
When did they make that banner?
Right.
You had maybe 2.5 to 3 hours.
No way.
No way in the world. You don't know who the bishop going to be, and somehow you had that done.
It takes time to draft that stuff.
Yes, sir.
It takes actually. It's not just like you can type it in a computer and press print. No, there's actually man hours, and man has to put his hands to things to make that happen. No way that was done immediately.
And on that night, they had an entire program already assembled and put together. Choirs knew where they're going to sing, who's going to be prepared to sing. The councilmen knew what part they're going to play. An entire program had been made up, and a declaration had been printed up. And the program, I showed it here. I'm going to show you all again. This program was already assembled, printed up, handed out for people to have on that night. Now, how are y'all going to print up this beautiful, elaborate program for a coronation inaugural service? They had
Cunningham's name is in that?
Yes, sir. And it's got the declaration of the coronation and inaugural service. The order of the services, somebody's going to read the purpose of this organization, the scripture, presentation of colors, altar boys, the house of prayer creed, God bless the house of prayer anthem, the procession of the general council and pastors, the declaration of our faith in God's selection, the vestures of the bishop, where the council comes in and present the bishop's robe with the bishop's staff and the bishop's hat, an affirmation, presentation of the biretta and the bishop's staff, a prayer to God, the Honorable Bishop of the United House of Prayer for all people of the Church of the Rock of the Apostolic Faith, precious, sweet Addie Cunningham, is already in the program. And on the next page for the declaration, it has precious Addie Cunningham. The entire organization gives God the highest thanks and praises. An entire declaration to him from the organization, who absolutely was not aware of who the bishop was going to be just about 2.5 to 3 hours earlier. But all this fanfare is already done up. It's already planned out. People already know the presentation. In fact, they don't know that we know this either. Well, they know now because I put it in the video. But the individual that he used to tailor his suits, he had flown him in. Mr. Cunningham did this as the senior minister. He had flown him in from the West Coast, from California, I think on that Tuesday or that Wednesday, to Washington to have some clothes tailored and sized up, and I think a robe as well. And even the picture that went up, in 6th and Elm Street, that one went up first. And if I'm not mistaken, that picture went up a few days, I'm going to go back in my notes, but I thought that that picture was up rather fast. I thought that that picture went up that Sunday, but others are saying, no, it was a week later. Some others said it was 2 weeks, but I have the date written down. I have the snapshot of the date that I received the picture, because I save and I document and I jot down all kinds of notes to verify information that I'm going to have to use later. And I know I have the date and I have the time and I have it highlighted how many number of days after the so-called election, where that big life-size portrait of him, the frame itself was as tall of the man that was holding it. You see, he's pulling out the wrapper from around this gold frame to be put up on the wall in 6th and Elm Street. It's as big as he is.
Wow.
And yes, and that same picture in these big, gigantic frames in these smaller houses of prayers, the picture looked like in some houses, it go from the floor to ceiling almost. Some people said they ain't never seen a picture that big, but it goes to show the ego of Mr. Cunningham, because the time that he was supposed to do the job of a senior minister and just make sure that the organization is held together until a bishop is elected, he used his title, his office, in all 3 positions to put himself in the seat. But in reality, it had already been known 14 years before that he was going to be the next one, because that's when Mrs. Madison told him that he's going to be after Mr. Bailey. And we have information and individuals who actually know about meetings that was held when the council had been informed that he had been picked to be next. The chair that was made for him, people questioned that. How is it that Mr. Bailey's chair was taken out and removed so quickly, and he had a chair that fit comfortably? Really? All this stuff could not be done so quickly. Right after an election, it's way too many things that it was obvious that had already been done and prepared prior to the election. Also, I have right here, I'm showing the Sunday school book. The Sunday school book for 2024 that came out, right, had the cover, Judgment was on the cover. Well, the election for the General Assembly, the special assembly for the bishop, was October 13th. That leaves November, December, right? The Sunday school books are prepared and they're assembled in order to go to print. So why is it that the Sunday school book for 2024, if you check July 21st, 2024, it has his birthday in the Sunday school book, with his name actually written in the Sunday school book. Addie Cunningham's birthday Sunday school lesson. And the subject is A Chosen Vessel. Now, how'd you get in the book when the special election, or the election was held in a special assembly in the month of October, in the second week of October? You mean to tell me that the Sunday school committee went back and undid the work so that they can have your name put in the Sunday school, and took out the work that they had for the former bishop to make sure that you're now in it that late in the year, that close to production? Nah. It's so many things that they kind of left outside the bag, and they didn't do a good job of covering it up. So you can see and tell that all of this was rigged, and the council was behind it, and they sat back and, of course, allowed it to happen. And they had to go through with the program. And then right afterwards, you hear about men again, like Mr. Commodore, they got to sell it. And they're traveling and they're giving speeches now for 20 minutes long about Mr. Cunningham. Don't y'all see him? Don't you feel him? And people could hear and see and feel all these councilmen giving speeches. Well, he's already in the seat. Why are y'all giving speeches now? They had to get the people on board. So it became different within those first few weeks. And then there's recordings that, again, we put out there where he's actually saying, I already knew who I was. It just wasn't time yet for you all to know. So all of these things that we had shown, it simply adds up to one indisputable fact that the council worked along with Mr. Cunningham and Mrs. Madison to make sure that he got in a seat. And for that reason, the council continues to work along with him and Mr. Cunningham to make sure that he remains in the seat. And Miss Bailey, Mickey Bailey, and the judge, they are still working with Mr. Cunningham. In fact, the very next year, she comes out and actually signed her name on a letter to the organization that now serves as a proposal to the General Assembly to have the Constitution amended, when the year prior, I was already coming forward to dispute the earlier Constitution that Mickey Bailey, Mr. Cunningham, Miss Bailey, and Mr. Jones, they had worked with Mr. Bailey to fix that Constitution. I was already disputing that. And Miss Bailey comes back the next year, along with Mr. Cunningham, to do again what they did the year before, to fix the Constitution without the consent of the people. Right? So all of these things were ongoing, and we know that they knew what they were doing. And this was not by consent of the people. It was not the will of the people. It was not the people who voted for this who wanted that. All of this was staged. All of this was planned, and they carried it out accordingly. So now here we are, where they had to sell the idea. And in order to sell it, they have to do more and more. Well, what I'm talking about is witchcraft. So
before we go into that, I just want to back up. I know I've never looked it up, and this just came to me. But when you're running a nomination and you get to that point where it's down to one said name. I know when I was the pastor, when I was the president of presidents, or president of an auxiliary, or president of the youth department, or whatever, if we ever got down to that point, one said name, I knew, it was automatic to me. Okay, slow down. Slow down. Are we moving forward on this? One said name.
Right.
One said name. If we were voting for the treasurer of the band, I'm still going to slow down.
Right.
Is there no one else, absolutely no one on this entire band, who could be put in here as the treasurer, just in case something happens with this treasurer? We're ready to move forward on a one said name. And in the election or nomination of bishop, they rushed that. And who's carrying this? Is it the senior minister, or is it the parliamentarian, or the attorney that was who carried the motion? Do you know that?
The senior minister at the time was the
secretary.
Well, and that's why I used that title, because the senior minister was the secretary.
Right.
And I said it because, again, the conflict of interest is that the man who's overseeing the General Assembly should not be the same man who's overseeing the organization who has a personal and divested interest in the outcome of this election.
Right. And how could that person carry this motion? I wasn't there. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So who carried the motion? I'm puzzled.
Right.
Who carried that motion?
But they know that the people don't know. They know that the people don't understand the procedures, which is why, again, they go in and they come out. And I have said how many times that they've hijacked the General Assembly.
Right. And I'm going to tell you, it's not that the people don't know. There's nothing special about me.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason that I would know and the other people don't know. They know. But the thing is, people are afraid to stand up for right. And even the former leaders used to tell us all the time, stand for something or you will fall for anything. But when you stand for something, it's the people that will knock you down. But you have to, y'all know this. People, y'all know you cannot be the secretary of the General Assembly, the senior minister, and carry a motion of who's going to be the next bishop, and you are a nominee. People know that. They got to know. I'm not going to say that they don't know. These are my brothers and sisters. I'm going to give them a little bit of credit. Somebody knows something.
And you're right. That's spot on. There are several who do. And those several are too afraid or too intimidated to speak up for whatever reason. And outside of those several, they know that there's the rest of the body of the General Assembly that don't know. There's many of them inside, like all the council know. All the pastors know. For the most part, most of the elders with credentials know, right? Some of the women know. But collectively, the rest of that body, being made up of just standard, ordinary, everyday, Joe the Plumber type members, don't know what to expect when they go to General Assembly, which is why there's this notion that it's a blessing, an honor, and a privilege to go to the General Assembly. Oh, you're going to be in the meeting with the man of God, right? And people come excited, and they wait for 4 or 5 hours, and they write every single minute, the suit that he had on, and what did he say, and this and that, not knowing nothing about the procedure. Even the fact that a parliamentarian, lawyers, Mrs. Madison, Miss Bailey, Mickey Bailey, the guards, and the maids, and the staff, none of them not even supposed to be in that meeting. None. So we are already dealing with a regime that literally does whatever he wants to do. And therefore, like Mr. Perry just said, people are too intimidated who are in the know, the council, the pastors, the some of the women who might be secretaries who are in the know, they're not going to say anything because they're out of fear. So with that in mind, right after the election, he began making comments to refer to himself as God, as a God. I mean, we're talking about 2 weeks. November, he made the comment, I think it was Salisbury, that came up to do presentations, and Salisbury, Maryland. And he said, when I think of Salisbury, I think about Nazareth and what they said to Jesus. Can anything good come out of Salisbury? And I wanted to, because again, I began saying he has absolutely no idea what to say. You just insulted an entire congregation.
Right.
You put them down as if you are the only good thing that came out of Salisbury's congregation. And already you can see the narcissism as he's exalting himself, right? And again, people don't understand that this is why that witchcraft is being used for self-glory. And they understand that they're using the witchcraft because they're seeking from the people what they're getting from the people. They're getting exaltation, they're getting glory from the people, and they're getting money from the people. Let me touch on that. Was there anything else you wanted to hit on before I talked about this witchcraft?
There is, but it's escaping my mind. When it comes back up, I'll bring it to your attention. It has something to do with the election process that was foul, and I can't put my finger on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do, I will bring it up.
Okay, and we had talked about that, the fact that they had to go through the actual voting procedure. And what really made no sense is to put the people through that, and then you have to count the votes. It was so frustrating because you know that all of this is just for show. And then afterwards, again, now you got these councilmen going back, and again, like Mr. Commodore, he just gets right into, with the theatrics. And we know that he's the one when all the people vote for him. Not one did not vote for him. Of course not. There was nobody. What in the world?
I could just see his antics too, how he does all his facial expressions.
Yes, and where was it? Midwest, he turned around and when I look at him, I used to see Apostle Cunningham, but no, that's not Apostle right there. No, that's not Apostle right there. That's Addie right there. What I saw on the other one, and I mean, he sold it. And the people and he sold it, and they chiming in, they chiming in, and then here comes the band just to take it off, which again brings up the witchcraft. Now, the people don't know that it's just like going to a concert. Who's the guy? Travis Scott. There's a concert I heard about, and unfortunately, some people were trampled. Maybe 2 or 3 actually lost their lives. But there was an admission that they were taking part in a satanic ritual. And like many other concerts, secular music, people don't know that they're actually, when they tell you, throw your hands up and have you saying things along with them, that's a part of the chanting. Chanting is witchcraft. And so when I talked about these so-called revivals, first of all, you won't even see that word in the scripture. People not going anywhere where they're congregating and they're having a revival. It's all these things being introduced by people. It's the wicked one. We're not supposed to add to the scripture. We're not supposed to take away from the scripture. We're supposed to just follow what's in the scripture. So here we have a host of different things. So when you look at witchcraft, the biblical meaning is to practice magic, right? And to cast spells or to use occult power. And for those individuals who really don't believe that this is taking place, I mean, when you get into the scripture, in fact, in Exodus We saw the first indication of this when Moses went to Egypt. And he threw down this, had Aaron throw the staff down. And you remember what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Pharaoh had his positions, so the magicians threw their staffs down as well.
Right? And by what power did their staff become snakes? It wasn't by the same power that Moses and Aaron had. Right? So we know that there's things on the other side that can be done, which is why it's forbidden, right? When we're talking about the commandments that was given to Moses to give to Israel. To not involve yourself with the use of, or utilize or use anybody else that deals with witchcraft. And the spiritual meaning is seeking supernatural influence that's not coming from our Creator. Invoking spirits and chanting and casting spells. This is where in the revivals we see it most. Because you're literally saying over and over and over and over and over one word. Right? And this is known as invoking.
Right.
You're calling forth a spirit. And didn't you touch on this before? We're talking about that title.
Mm-hmm. And you're calling for it to possess you. You're calling for it to be in your mind, in your limbs, in your actions, in your thoughts, to take over your life. You ask for it, you beg for it, plead for it to do that. The thing that God said, no, you can't have that. There is no other Father other than the Most High. And under revival in this organization, you plead and beg for that thing to possess you for your whole life. Witchcraft.
There it is. And we're taught against utilizing witchcraft, familiar spirits. You talk about mediums in the scripture. In fact, in Leviticus 19th chapter.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. 31, yeah. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. Now, again, this is a direct commandment. And when we talk about familiar spirits, well, what is that? It's a spirit that you are familiar with. Everybody else don't have to be familiar with it. And that's what makes it demonic, because the devils and the demons and the evil spirits, which is, you're talking about fallen angels when you're talking about devils. They know who your loved ones are. They know who the ones familiar to you are. People don't, but they do. And an individual who deals with the dead and communicates with the dead, well, that person is referred to as a medium. Now, that's just one notch against you. But to deal with witchcraft itself, that's a second notch against you. To ask spirits to do things on your behalf. You're now talking about necromancy. When you talk about the dead and you're having these evil spirits, you're conjuring them. And if you cross the line to invoke them, to conjure is to call forth. And this is what's happening when you're repeating that name or that title over and 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 over. And they're saying, call them until you feel something. We were all a part of this, believing it, doing it, teaching it, telling other people. We're guiding you through it. Right? We were your spirit guides, telling you to get one and not knowing that we are obeying and following one. And until something moves you. To even hear those words, to call until I come, knowing that your flesh is not going to come, but you're talking about a spirit coming. Now, how many of the disciples ever talked like that or told the people anything like that?
None.
Not one. Not one. And when you talk about the spirits of the dead, how many times have we heard the leaders of the house of prayer talk about, Mr. Cunningham as well, that what they had in them, he has in him. Right? How many times have we seen the leader take on the appearance of one of the other leaders?
Right.
Right? You've heard people say, oh my gosh, did you see him? He changed. He looked just like this one. He looked like that one. When we talk about some of the members saying that they saw the bishop come to them. Have you ever heard anybody share with you this experience?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You remember any of those testimonies or stories?
I do. It's difficult to say because, okay, this was a saint. And she told us a story about Grace coming to visit her. And when Grace came, Grace was making a comment about women who were sleeping, who were messing around with pastors, and they would sit on the front pew without panties on and let their dresses go up and stuff like that. And she said that Grace said, those bees are going to burn. She used the word and said Grace used the word too. And ever since that moment, that happened back in the 90s. Ever since that moment, when people kind of tell me things like that, I just immediately dismiss it.
Yeah. And if that don't tell you something, right, at where that spirit came from,
right.
We know about going back to using that example of what someone said, that one of the leaders came to them in 1 Samuel 28th chapter and the 7th verse. Then said Saul unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. He said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. Now, again, what was that word that he used? Divining? Divination. In the 18th chapter of Deuteronomy, and the 10th verse, there shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination All of the people that do these things. So hearing from a spirit of somebody that's died, you are dealing with a familiar spirit. It is a demon or a devil disguising themselves as the spirit of that person that you think you're talking to. Here, Saul knew what he was doing. And the woman in the 9th verse said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits and wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life to cause me to die? She knew that the law was against witches and wizards, of which she was. He said in the 11th verse, Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And then in the 13th verse, the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And then we see a conversation in the 15th verse. Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? Now, a lot of people have questions about this, but the point that I'm making, instead of going too far into this incident, is if the scripture says that you're not to deal with, communicate with, seek out, or anything revolving the dead, and our leaders talk about communicating with past leaders, or talk about their spirit is in them.
Yeah, being possessed by past leaders.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
Being possessed by past leaders?
Mm-hmm. Like he said, and I played that recording too. He said, all of their spirits are in me. Ooh. How can you not turn around and walk away? He's telling you, all of their spirits are in me. All of them. And then, do you remember when the people saw real time, when one of the leaders took possession of the leader that was there? I think it was a watch night service, New Year's service.
I don't know. I was probably in California. You know, we missed a lot in California.
Ah, that's right. Did you hear about when the founder came to visit to see about the members of the House of Prayer a few years ago? And he spoke through one of the past bishops. I'm going to go back and I'm going to find this recording. But it happened to be Mr. Madison. And the people got caught up. It was a watch night service where he had gotten up and he came to the mic and he began to talk and sound just like the founder, Mr. Grace.
Oh, now that you mention, yeah, I do recall something about that. I don't remember it in detail, but I do recall something about that.
And he even told them that he was Mr. Grace. Do you know who this is?
Wow.
And then he said, this is Addie Grace. He said, I came to see about my children. And the people just going off. And he continued talking. He continued talking. At the time, I heard about this, what? And people got excited. Not realizing, recognizing, or holding to the scripture that these things ought not be done. And when we talk about charmers are individuals that utilize charms, right? And there's things that they have on them. In fact, this is what the Magi had in Egypt. What about the things that we call G-class awards?
Yeah, not only the G-class awards, but even the Sunday school books, the Grace magazines.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, the Grace magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I remember different things like you go camping when you're in school, or you know, your parents would tear a page out of the Grace magazine and slip it in your pillowcase or put in your shoes. Or if you're going on a flight as a child by yourself, parents would slip something down in your suitcase, or always slip something on you. Even as a band boy, we would be so broke, traveling, going out of town, playing that program, and then we got to get home. The car's raggedy, the weather is bad, ain't nobody got no money, but we want a blessed ride. So we put our change together to buy some chicken wings, and then we would tie the bones. How occult is this? We would go to the shop, or we called it the shop in Columbia. Go to the shop, buy some chicken wings, eat the chicken, and tie the bones to the grill of the car or to the windshield wipers of the car to protect the vehicle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Charms.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, this is what he's talking about when he talks about the Sunday school books and the magazines, because it has a picture in it, or because it's from the house of prayer and it's got names written in it. People say, well, it's blessed. And how many times have we seen in the DVDs, or we heard in letters that were written to the people, or even live while they're talking in their so-called speeches? They call them sermons. And they're saying, take me with you, right? Or wear your G-class pins, your buttons, or your necklaces, so that will be extra protection against you when hurt, harm, or danger might come. When you're putting your trust in an object, it becomes a charm.
That's it.
Right? Look at the cereal. What do they call those charms?
Lucky charm.
Lucky. But there's no such thing as luck. But if you're seeing this as a charm, then yeah, it's because you are not serving the Most High.
That's right.
You're putting your trust in something else. And the scripture calls those things cursed objects.
Here's the big one that always got to me. Somebody can be sick, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, whatever, and what you got to do is you got to get a bottle of olive oil and just turn it up. Now, you suffering with high cholesterol, and you're going to drink a bottle of oil. What kind of sense does that make? Or making teas from the pages of the Grace magazine or the Sunday school book, or making a tea out of that to drink. The tea, come on now. We've done so much foolish stuff, ignoring the words of the Most High God. Ignoring wisdom, we follow in the foolishness.
And exactly what he said. Ignoring wisdom, ignoring commandments, ignoring...
Louis, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, you went out for a second.
Ignoring wisdom, ignoring commandments, ignoring teachings. And we see in Numbers 23 and 23, surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time, it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what hath the Most High, the Creator, the one that they served, what has he wrought? In other words, everything that we do is supposed to be to please him, in servitude to him. So when we see in Deuteronomy 28th chapter, that list of blessings, we also see a longer list of curses. And all those curses would come in upon an individual. But what about the abominable individuals? What about those individuals? Especially when you're looking at individuals that's under enchantment. What was I? Numbers 23 and 23. Talking about enchantments. And the biblical meaning of that word, enchantments, is to whisper a spell or to practice an omen that you're putting on someone. But with an enchantment, they actually use either verbal charms or objects to influence the outcome and the desire that they want over people. So what do we see? A direct example of that. Is that not the Addie's Club pens? Where you're having individuals, not only are you putting something on them, an omen on them, but you're having them to give money in order to get it, indicating that they're already under a spell. And that's the term that was used to describe Mr. Cunningham on the House of Prayer website when it talked about, I think it was Mr. Murray that described him, talk about how spellbound he is.
Wow.
Yeah. I highlighted it, and after I talked about it, for whatever reason, it mysteriously disappeared. Talked about how spellbinding he is in his oratory.
Well, it's in his name, Cunning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
you know, in a lot of indigenous cultures, like African cultures even, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The names that people are called is according to their spirit, who they are, what they do. In Sacramento, I had a lot of friends from East Africa, and they had names like Blessed, Comfort, Spirit. They had names like Justice. These were their names. And one thing that they would teach is you call a person by what they do. For example, if you call a doctor, that person is most likely a doctor. However they doctor. But if you call a person liar, it's because they lie a lot. If you call a person cunning, it's because they are very cunning.
Oh. And who knew? Who knew? We know that we don't know, which is why many people go around trying to find things out with tarot cards and horoscopes and astrology, look for soothsayers and palm readers. But other individuals literally take it a step further when they go out seeking individuals that either use witchcraft or know people who use witchcraft. Now, for those of you who think that this is all being made up, again, even the songs in the House of Prayer, believe it or not, are enchanting. Right? Look at the word, the etymology of the word enchanting. Right? What are you doing in the word? You're chanting. And you're chanting and calling forth. You're summoning spirits, evil spirits. Right? And they're not going to appear in their normal appearance, their physical, their real, their true appearance. They're going to appear as angels of light. They're going to appear as something that's good. And you will listen. I can go on and on and on with many different stories and testimonies about experiences, thinking that we're dealing with angels, only to learn later when we try the spirit that they're devils in disguise the whole time. The whole time. And the songs, it's like y'all know some secular music, love songs. What you put in songs will make you feel it. When people accept the words, it'll put you in a state of being whatever is being sung over you. And look at some of the songs in here. Your face is the first face I want to see. Addie, how I love you. Look at that other video with the woman talking about, I adore you, I worship you. And people don't realize how much the enchantments coming from the leader that they're putting on the people, it is to stir up the people's affection and affinity for themselves so that they will give them anything they want, do for them anything they want. We have individuals that are so spellbound, they don't even know or realize that they're giving everything to the leader.
Right.
Things that they need, their money, their bills. I mean, and they cannot give enough. Once they've given it all, they'll go and sell lemonade, bake goods, sell tickets, work in the kitchen, whatever they can do to get more. Some people will go and steal. Some people go and break all kinds of other laws so that they can get more. Don't even realize they're not even getting for self. They're getting to give to a multi-millionaire who's got all these other people spellbound given to him.
Right.
And you've seen individuals, you can't talk to them. You couldn't tell me when I was indoctrinated. And we going right back. What was that in Living Color? What we need to get? More money, more money, more money. And
what are you doing with, I mean, if you're doing something with the money, if we could see the leader or we knew of the leader doing anything positive for our communities with the money or positive for our houses with the money, if we could see any of that, that would be different. But we are not seeing anything at all. Nothing at all. And I keep bringing up the same thing. When is the last time a house was dedicated? Because even at the coronation of the bishop, they stated the purpose. Well, the purpose is to establish, erect, and maintain houses of prayer and worship. When is the last time a house has been erected, established, maintained? When is the last time that's happened? However, constantly, you are still making reports toward it.
And you are going to be held accountable if you don't. Even though there's nothing to show for it, like he said. And how long has that been going on? Right. And especially now, somebody made it a point to draw attention to the fact that we're now dealing with another shutdown, another government shutdown. And people are already, it's bad. The economy is bad. Already suffering, already going through it. And what is he doing? He's traveling around the country telling people to give more. To give more. And when you don't have it, when you lose your job, when you don't have the place to stay and lay your head, when whatever calamities come, when you turn yourself to the one that we serve, when you turn to God, you can rely on him, and he will, not the bishop, he will Not the organization. He will. It's even in the law. You can't ask the bishop for any money. You can't ask for a loan. But they want all the people every single week to give. And somebody else wrote, I think yesterday, that they were in West Baltimore and they were getting down with giving all kinds of money, tens of thousands of dollars whenever he came. Tens of thousands whenever he came. And yet this person said that they were on the verge of having their utilities shut off. And when the pastor at the time contacted the leader, he told him, well, you better figure it out. You better raise that money. And the members worked off their back. And they still did not come up with the money in order to pay and keep those utilities going. And so then the leader told the pastor that you better take care of it some way, somehow. And then he threatened to remove him as the pastor if he didn't.
Wow.
So the pastor paid for it out of his pocket. Now, you just said you don't see any houses of prayers being built. There's no dedications. But we don't even see the leadership paying for bills.
The maintenance, that's part of the purpose.
Yeah. To establish, erect, and maintain.
Maintain.
Nothing. No. And we'll tell you, don't make no sense. You can't take care of the house. We built all these beautiful houses. What are you talking about? It's not your money. And you're overseeing an organization, but it's as if you get angry when there's a financial need. Something's wrong with this math or this picture, but we already know what it is. Right? And so the witchcraft that's taking place, and again, for those who don't understand, you know what a hexagram is.
6 sides.
Yes. And now people don't understand this, but you know when people want to contact the wicked one or conjure up or call for the spirit, they'll draw a circle on the ground. And to open up a gate, they'll draw a star in the middle. And there's other symbols that they use to put around in different places to call forth certain or specific spirits. There's books that individuals have that teach them how to do these things. Believe it or not, we have individuals throughout the organization that have written emails, have called on the phone. We've talked at length. Some have sent in comments or texts. Many of these individuals, not knowing one another, are having dreams or visions and seeing Mr. Cunningham and other council members dealing with devils, fallen angels, or evil spirits in the dark. Some of them have talked about and described seeing him sitting up in the front on the platform in a service. One person said they saw the floor open up beneath him, fire shoot up around him in the seat, and before the chair went down inside the hole, he angrily yelled out, not in pain, but in anger. And they saw wings sprout out from his back.
Wow.
Before he went down. Now, a lot of people don't know what to make of that until you hear other people's dreams or visions. And there was another individual who said that they too saw that he had wings. A lot of people would associate that with something absolutely positive or good. But the problem is, well, you're also dealing with fallen angels. Remember, the word tells us the tree is known by the fruit that it bears.
Right.
And if the tree is corrupt, the fruit's going to be corrupt.
Right.
And if you're looking at corrupt fruit, then it's because the tree is corrupt. And looking at the things that he's doing, you can't say that the tree is not corrupt. As we know, he knows he's outside the law, not standing up for what's right. How can you support the alphabet community and exalt people doing those things and claim to be a servant of his? You say that you're exalting and representing our Heavenly Father while doing the things that he called an abomination.
Right.
So when you look at even a pentagram, the star in the middle of a circle, that's the seal and the symbol of Satan, right?
Okay.
When we've seen all these different individuals, even in the entertainment industry, and they're doing different things, carrying out rituals, you'll see they have a star in the middle of a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a 5-pointed star, sometimes it's a 6, sometimes it's 8. But the 5-pointed star upside down is obvious. Upside up is not obvious, but it still represents the same thing. Okay.
Upside down, it also shows a goat's head.
Right. Which is why it's obvious upside down, because the point of the star pointing downward is the beard of the goat, and the points of the star on the side is the ears, and at the top is the horns, right?
The horns, right.
And when you see that, what's the name? Baphomet. That's what that goat represents. This entity that is both genders, but yet is half goat as well. So there's things that show these different entities that people are conjuring and calling forth, and they're using. So why is it that we would have different types of symbology like that around the organization?
Right, because I believe at the tip top of 601 M Street, above the dome, is that star in a circle.
There you go. Why would there be a star at the top of the building that's nicknamed God's White House? And the star is sitting perfectly up on a pedestal in the middle of a circle. There were no domes on the temple at all. Why is there a dome on that building? What is the purpose of the star? Some people say the Star of David. Okay, well, the scripture doesn't say nothing about David ever having a star. All these things being done right in front of your face.
Right.
And you had these men lining up with him, right? The more we get into this and the more we talk about it, right now we're just having conversation. But coming back, we can show you how all these things fit in the scripture with what was going on with Israel. Because remember, we talked about Elijah calling forth the prophets of Baal or Baal. And how did they deceive the people? They did it quietly, giving the people the impression that they're serving the one they're supposed to be serving, while Jezebel is doing everything that she can behind the back of her husband. So these things are nothing new. You remember Balak and Balaam? The man who was hired by a king in order to curse the Israelites in the wilderness. Right? People did not understand. You're talking about a wizard. And the king said, I perceive that which you bless, they are blessed, and that which you curse, they are cursed. We're talking about wizardry. And it's no different today. I'll share another one with you. Well, going back to those wings that they saw in Mr. Cunningham, I won't say who. There's a young lady, matter of fact, 3 young ladies who did not know. But 2 of those young ladies talked to each other, and both of them had almost the exact same dream. And they saw bits and pieces of the same dream in each of their dream. And they told each other, and they had almost the exact same dream about 4 or 5 different times. And their dreams almost fit perfectly together. And in their dream, they saw Mr. Cunningham dealing with a marine spirit. Anybody know anything about marine spirits, you know you're talking about devils, demons, and evil spirits in the marine kingdom. And people don't understand this until we remind them about the flood in Noah's day. And what was present during the flood? Death was prevalent everywhere. And what's the only thing that had life in it? The water. He said he was going to kill everything on the face of the earth. So spirits were not killed by the flood. But flesh and any spirit dwelling in the flesh, those spirits had to leave, right? Going back to New Testament, what was it that the man that had legions, what did he say? Bid us to enter to the herd of swine. The swine ran and jumped off a cliff into the sea. Did that kill those spirits? No.
No, drowned to swine.
Right? The pigs drowned, but the spirits, they're looking for another host. So when we're talking about this, they didn't know. Now, they're not giving themselves these dreams, but they saw that he was pleading to this entity, a dark entity, and it had like tentacles, and it sat on a throne. Without going into too much detail, when they saw him dealing with this entity, he was seeking assistance. They saw other councilmen also working along with. Okay? Now, I'm going to say this one other part. The third woman who was seeing things similar to what they were seeing, the spirit actually shared with her after she prayed about what she saw in her dream, that Mr. Cunningham is a carrier of a principality. Anybody knows anything about a principality? Now, what we're talking about is things that go against our Father. But the thing is this: the disciples were told, greater is he that is in you than he that's in the world. And remember, in the 10th chapter of Matthew and the 10th chapter of Luke, they were given, I'll read it. In the 10th chapter of Matthew, when you go down to the First verse. When he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. He gave them power over against all these unclean spirits. So what did they say in the 10th chapter of Luke with these others that he had sent out to do the same thing? When they came back to him, in the 17th verse, and the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. At a word, they got to do what they tell them. So those who are serving the one they're supposed to be serving, they have power over these unclean spirits. And I mean, again, we're talking about what he's carrying, but look at what's going on. This whole year, he's been running away from us. He's been ducking and dodging us, which is why we fired him, along with all the other councilmen, all the other pastors, because a lot of them are involved in this as well. So anytime you're serving and supporting evil and wrongdoing, well then, especially if it's obvious that you're not doing right by the law, by the people, by the organization, well, then the people have the right to rise up and say, enough is enough. You're terminated. We'll find somebody else. And so now they've all been dismissed. For those of you in the organization who don't understand what's going on, and they still continue to hold on to these positions and travel and sit in those seats, don't worry about all of that. That will be handled whenever it's handled down the line. The people in the positions of authority, they're going to let them know what they should have done. There's somebody who actually said in the comments also that they're not under mandate. There's no requirement that the organization needs to show, not a federal requirement, that the organization needs to show their books and financial records. That's true. That's absolutely true. However, when y'all checking the law, after I tell y'all something, make sure it's just like playing chess. I'm going to just say this one thing. I'm not even going to tell you what to look for. Look at the whole board. You play chess, Brother Perry?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah. Isn't that the first thing that they'll tell you about chess? Look at the
whole board.
Look at the whole board. Because
I'm not that good at
it. Right. And if to get better, you have to make sure you look at the entire board. So by saying that, what I'm saying is it would behoove the leaders of the organization to go ahead and back up, step down, show the books. Even though it's not a federal requirement to show the books, I guarantee you they're going to support our request. I guarantee.
No, wait. Where do y'all get that it's not a federal requirement? That is a requirement under the 501c Section 3.
Right. Until you get to anything operating as a church. So it's not a requirement under that church by the federal government to show, because a church is not mandated to have to file a 990 by federal government. And so, again, what I'm saying is, and you're right, they do have to show. I'm just not saying why they have to show. So we have individuals that come onto the line and they'll make comments or whatnot. And I appreciate all of you who do that to keep us on our toes, to make sure that we know what we're putting out, and to make sure that we know what we're talking about. And we try to be as transparent as possible. And if we don't know something, I'm gonna tell you, don't know. If we need to be corrected about something, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna correct it. Again, we're trying to be absolutely transparent with everything. We can't say everything because we don't want to give them a heads up on what to do and how to go back and fix, remove, hide, whatever. But No, in this case, they're going to be held accountable. And the longer it takes to show the books, it's already bad. So again, all of this is a part of them trying to hide things. And why would you not show them people what they have anyway? Why would you not show, Mr. What Do You Believe actually said that in the comments. Why would you not show the people what you're spending the money on, what expenditures you have, what balance you have? What is it that you're doing with it? Why is it a secret what the people have? Right? So all of these things are nothing but red flags. But with that said, I'm going to just go over a couple of more things. The necromancy. That's another issue which we talked about, but I didn't go into too much detail. But there's rituals that's being done that y'all don't know anything about, designed to invoke the dead. And with offerings, they're offering certain things in order to get certain things. And some people are being paid to do certain things. And so when we talk about these cursed objects, I mean, those little ribbons, the convocation badges, all the buttons, the pendants, the rings, the watches, the calendars, the magazines, like Brother Perry said, the letters, anything and everything that's got the bishop's name, the bishop's picture, the house of prayer name, anything about the organization whatsoever, you're literally looking at cursed objects. We didn't know. We had everywhere. We're still finding stuff. We're pulling stuff out of drawers and office files and shoot, forgot. Pictures, letters, convocation badges, buttons, still finding stuff. As soon as we see it, cut it up, tear it up, trash it. Anything, the so-called blessed products, How is it that you having blessed products out of all these, from olive oil to Super Ease to lemon cream to cocoa butter lotion, joint pain lotion, bergamot, petroleum jelly, olive oil, soap, body soap. You got a long list. It's like a shopping mall, an online shopping mall. And all these people still sick with diseases and sickness. And nobody in there can bless you or heal you. The so-called apostles are walking around sick, looking like Walking Dead, some of them. And other, what in the world? Even Mr. Cunningham himself, people looking at him. And we have a recording where he went down to supposedly heal somebody. And he called. His voice is on the recording. He called asking for a wheelchair to come to give to the woman while they push her out to the paramedic. People, gotta wake up. And anytime you're literally working to give everything you have and you have nothing and your families are depleted, your household is depleted. And I'm sorry, I've been rambling on, but let me ask you about this issue that somebody wrote. With the economy being as bad as it is right now and all this time, even since the pandemic, even since that time, Mr. Ellie was pushing the pastors to push the people to give, while people had lost jobs, didn't have food at home. All these other institutions are giving away food, giving away gas cards, giving away debit cards, preloaded debit cards with $1,000 on it for people just to get the things that they need. People giving this to them from other places, other institutions. House of prayer? Nothing whatsoever from the house of prayer. Even during a natural disaster with the hurricanes down in Georgia, the floods in California, and the fire, nothing whatsoever from the organization. Economy been messed up. Gas prices back and forth fluctuating. But people now dependent on benefits from their state or from the federal government. And now we have this shutdown, government shutdown. And now what's the thing with the SNAP, where people may not have their EBT cards loaded, who we're talking about over something like 24 million people.
Wow.
Right? And you're cutting these benefits off, and their Medicaid and their Medicare. And what's going to happen to them? What is the organization doing to prepare for any of this to help the people? Nothing.
Well, according to our grandparents, that's why they had so much canned food and stuff, because one day Daddy gonna have to feed the world.
I remember him saying that. I remember him saying, Mr. McCullough said, time is going to come where he's going to have to house you and feed you. We've seen a lot of disasters, but under each one, I have yet to see any of those things happen.
Not a one.
Somebody said they went by some of the housing in North Carolina, and they said it looked like a project. Now, of course, projects, people understand that city governments don't always put funding into the project the way that they should. But they were making the point that it looks run down. And for the House of Prayer property, you should never have any property that looks run down. Well, of course, the apartments don't look run down, because even the houses of prayers themselves look run down. And some of the larger ones. But what do you think, if you still dealing with members and family or friends in the house of prayer, as these things come forward, let's say a week or 2 weeks from now, and people find out, unfortunately, it looks like this might be what takes place. What would you tell people pertaining to the house of prayer? Or even all the money that they gave this convocation season, for those little bit of people who did give, what would you tell them, knowing that you're not going to have? How would you prepare them to prepare for what may be coming?
Well, I honestly don't feel like there's any preparation, because they won't. In general, people are, they're fighting against fact and truth, and so they're gonna suffer the consequences as a result. That's just what's going to happen. I mean, because the only thing to tell them is stop putting your money in there. I stopped years ago. I won't even go buy a cornbread muffin for 50 cents. I won't give them a penny of my money, because honestly, I mean, and if people would do this, they will see the difference. Okay, let's say you pay $1,500 a month tithes, just for example. Only your tithes. Only your tithes, not your love gift, not your pastor's offering, not your house offering, only your tithes. Well, let's say instead of you paying that, putting that $1,500 in the envelope and passing it up in the house prayer, let's say you met somebody who's having a hard time and you just gave them $1,500. The feeling that you will receive from blessing somebody, doing something for somebody, is still giving up that tenth of your increase. It's still giving that. But instead of putting it in a bank where it's really just going into somebody else's pocket, a millionaire's pocket, you're giving it to someone who needs it. There's a reward in that. And so my point is, do for yourself. Don't do, okay. And then look at it. This is so backwards. Is your God such a one that would let you pay him for a blessing?
Mm. Mm.
And see, I've had for years, this is part of the reason I don't follow religion anymore. For years, I've had a problem when people say, God bless me because.
Right.
Right there, at that because. You know why God bless you? So that tells me you don't even honor or believe in grace. When you have a because, grace is not in, because it's saying that there's a reason that
I earned this
it's
blessing.
your God. Huh?
I earned this blessing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No. The grace of the Most High is sufficient. So it's not because of anything you did, are doing, or anything like that. It's the grace of the Most High. And so your contributions in the house of prayer or whatever church you're giving it to, what is the purpose of that? People say, well, I'm sacrificed to be blessed by God. God going to bless you because you paid? What kind of God do you serve? So
something out that milk.
honestly, I wouldn't know what to tell the people because they won't adhere to the truth.
And boom, right there. There's your witchcraft. When the people are knowingly not taking care of themselves and willing to do everything to take care of the leader, including, this is why I talked about even the parents of the children. And this is why people are now turning their attention towards the children, because the people, the members of the House of Prayer, were not of the opinion that the children are involved in child labor. Parents wasn't looking at it like that. And yet, no one stopped to ask the girls, are you hurting? Feet hurt, back hurt, arms hurt, shoulders hurt, hunger pains. Some of them dealing with cramping because they have their own conditions that they're going through at that moment. And all these issues, and no one is checking up on or seeing about their welfare or well-being. It's all about, no, you do as you're told, be on post, stay on post until you're relieved. Every single day we need you, every single night we need you, until, as long as he is happy. This is witchcraft. And our parents are approving of this, where girls have to call him Addie. What do they call their fathers? And then this man can treat them like anything. And, well, what happens when they go back home? And then who's that man who's looking at this man, talking to his children any type of way, treating them any type of way? Look at how he looked at the girl who was singing to him.
Yeah.
Oof. Many people have said a lot about that video. Many people have said it disgusted them. So you can just, And to see the other part that's going on, there's a video. I'm going to let you watch what I sent you first. And then in the next one, we can play it to the audience. But there's women now coming forward to speak up and speak out, to make people aware of the abuse that they went through and they were put through by their leaders in other organizations. And they're not backing down. And this is what we're looking at, with the women prepared to come forward to talk about the abuse that they endured under our leaders, as well as those around the leaders, as well as even some of the women. a lot of witchcraft, and nothing was done. So again, we're just talking about a surface level on this topic at the moment, but it is to introduce the ideas so that we can come back and kind of go into depth. And with this, I want to thank you, Brother Perry, for joining in with me while we talked about this. And I kind of, again, just wanted to throw it out there to look at different scenarios and see exactly what the scripture says hands off as a commandment, and look at what we're doing, and none of it looks right, while lining it up beside a few instances in the scripture to determine whether or not this is something that we should be doing. So when we're talking about even the girls on the maids, literally dressed like maids, I mean, I had linked that video to slavery, but we're talking about everybody. Let's face it. The houses of prayers, all of them, every location, the houses of prayers are the field.
Yeah.
The members are the field workers.
Yeah.
The pastors are the ones supervising and driving the workers.
Right.
The maids are fanning the master, who looks like a master because they actually have somebody behind the scenes over them. And what you're talking about is modern day slavery.
Absolutely. There is a book called The Christian Black Codes, and you will see that this is all set up by our government to control our population. Not the population, but our people. To be in control of our people. These are things that are set up outside of the house of prayer, but we practice them inside of the house of prayer. And that's why I remember being a young man, it was so important to be busy in church and for your pastor to know you, so that if you got in any trouble, you call your pastor. Why do you call your pastor? Because the pastor can vouch for you. I got control of this individual.
Or he could be the one to have you turned over as well. Isn't that a form of control?
Say that again?
Wouldn't that also be a form of control over the individuals?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, it's in the Christian Black Codes. You'll see the whole thing set up.
It's all just to make sure, well, just like you got the field workers, that other title, not supervisor, but they would be called the field hand, right? They're the ones up on the horse. So when we tell people get off their high horse, no, they're on their horse for a reason. They're working for somebody else to keep an eye on you, to keep you in check, to keep you in line. And even if they do something wrong and you do something against them, well, then the powers that be, they're going to come down on you, not them. And this is why we see the pastors do anything and everything and nothing ever happens to them.
Right.
They might get a slap on the wrist, or they might get removed from that pastoralship and put somewhere else. They can do the absolute worst. Nothing happens.
All right. Like their councilman from up north, they got their 16-year-old girl pregnant. He would just move to pastor a house down south.
And unfortunately, we've had several incidents like that. And those things are going to come up as well, because you can't just sweep those things under a rug.
Right.
So, reckoning day is coming.
It's vastly approaching. I can feel it.
Yeah. And we're not trying to meet no more. You've had almost a year. Matter of fact, again, I said 15, but we've had over 60 opportunities for these men on the general council, including the leader, Mr. Cunningham, to do something, anything, to acknowledge the concerns of the members of the organization. And even for those individuals who want to say, well, I'm not the members of the organization. It's just you. You just got your complaints. Okay, well, according to the laws of the land, I can still do what I'm doing, even if I did it by myself, alone, against the leaders of the organization. But the reality is, and the facts of the matters are, that there's a group of members who are in support of what it is that I'm doing because they agree with the allegations, the accusations, and the things that I'm saying that are concerns in the organization. It's that simple. So even if you say it's just Lewis, he the one got a problem. Okay, well, I'm the one that have a problem with what they're doing. It does not stop the powers that be from looking into what it is that I claim that they're doing. All it takes is one voice to initiate those things. It only takes one voice. But already, even the petition, last time I saw it was 97, and they put out this text message to lie to the members and say that there's a petition going around with a picture of the bishop on it, or a text that if you open it, is going to automatically put your name on a petition that goes against the house of prayer. The dirty, underhanded, lying, cheating, conniving things that our leaders do, that should be a warning for the members. They're doing this stuff against you. Well, is there anything else you wanted to touch on, or?
There's still that point I'm still missing. I've been racking my brain, like, what was it? And that's why I had asked you about the video, because I feel like you hit it in the video. But there's something that proves, like, flat out, that Cunningham is not supposed to be in that seat.
Oh.
And I just want to say to the people, I don't have a personal issue against Cunningham, but there are some facts that you got to take heed to. Go ahead, what are you about to say?
Yeah, when you said that, I just remembered. I didn't know that that's what you were looking for. But he should have never been qualified to even be nominated. Because,
and why is that?
Well, prior to the nomination, I was already raising concerns against him and the General Assembly Secretary and staff for their involvement in covering up for what we had seen taking place in the General Assembly. In other words, Mr. Cunningham was already complicit with violating the Constitution. And he was already caught in the 2023 Memorial Day weekend, General Assembly. He was already caught from 2022 working along with the former bishop to manipulate the organization, to deceive the organization, and to unlawfully amend the Constitution. So because his name is actually in the Constitution, along with the lies and the changes written in the Constitution, this is why the charges are indisputable, because the evidence is written right there. If I never had nothing else to claim as a problem that would convict him and the former leaders, it's the Constitution itself. That's your evidence, which is why. So people, just understand the weight of the entire law is about to come down. And you need to get this anyway, but he was already, as a result of having violated the Constitution already, as a judge, as a pastor, as an elder. Those are three different roles. As the General Assembly Secretary, as the senior minister. All five of those roles. And see, people think that, well, as a councilman, that's automatically a pastor and elder. No, you don't have to be right. Elders get violations. And the fact that you're not only an elder, but you are a pastor makes it worse, because you should know better as a pastor. And then to be a council member and a judge, not just a judge, but the head judge, you definitely know you should know better. That's like being on the Supreme Court.
Right. And the support of this whole idea of a Constitution Revision Committee.
Right.
The support of that is a complete violation. There is already a Constitutional Revision Committee established by the IRS, and that's called the General Assembly.
Right.
So another Constitutional Revision Committee is clandestine.
Of which he didn't even support it. And you're absolutely right. But for those of you out there that don't understand, he was actually on the Constitution Revision Committee, which is a conflict of interest, because as the General Assembly Secretary, by law, you are fulfilling the responsibilities which define the job of the chair of the board.
You should have been the one who stated, no, y'all cannot.
Exactly.
We cannot have a Constitution Revision Committee.
Exactly. His job is to be the go-between between the CEO and every other executive officer and the board of directors. He is the one who keeps everything in line, the General Assembly Secretary. I don't think I've said this yet, but the General Assembly Secretary is the absolute most powerful person in the organization. I don't think I've said that yet. And that's the problem, because the bishops have had the General Assembly Secretary in their pocket. And that's why Mr. Jones is also in some very serious trouble. And for the General Counsel to be acting in the full capacity of the court inside of the General Assembly, it shows y'all have been in collusion, and this is why they're in some serious trouble as well. You can't be the General Counsel in the General Assembly. The laws do. That's like the Supreme Court holding session in Congress. And the Supreme Court is telling Congress what to do. Supreme Court making motions and voting over to Congress, making nomination, telling the members. I understand why people, I get ready to say I don't get why people don't see through this, how corrupt the leadership is and how they've been doing anything they want. But this is why it's the witchcraft. The people are under a spell.
Right.
Scripture tells us in Acts how Simon used sorcery to have the entire city spellbound under his spell. The people thinking that he's of some great power. This is what we're looking at in there. We've had women who came forward who can implicate all the way across that platform. Years ago. Now, what does that tell you? Years ago.
It's a part of the culture.
And where was he sitting? Down on that platform.
On that platform.
I can say, oh, people, listen. The people who's coming forward, they're itching. They're itching because y'all have hurt so many people, and there's so many things that y'all think you've gotten away with. People are just waiting. And the good news for them is their time is almost here. So With that in mind, I'll say again, you should have taken up the opportunity to get this stuff fixed inside.
Internally, yes, sir.
Sir, you have any... People love hearing you kill Dwayne Edwards. And I feel like I've kind of been all over the place tap dancing. And this kind of... You have anything that you'd like to... I'll sit back and allow you to expound. Did we hit that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe we did hit that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to state, because, you know, especially in the past few weeks or so, I've been dealing with people like fighting against me. That you should just leave it alone. Just leave. You know, like Cunningham said, just leave quietly. And I just want to state, first of all, I hope our brothers and sisters pay attention to who we are. Not that we are anybody special, but we are, myself, Brother Lewis, we are people who've done things that not even the bishops have done. Not to float our boat or anything,
right?
But Cunningham, Bailey, Madison, McCullough, at least those four, they never went to a green field, a place where there are no house of prayer members, and planted a house of prayer and started bringing people and growing for something. Not to say that we are anything special, right. But the point that I'm trying to show the people is that is how much we believed in this organization. That is how much we loved the organization. To speak of Brother Lewis, I can't recall I don't know how long I've known you. I just feel like I've always known you. I remember when the maids in San Francisco invited you, I think it was 2 years in a row.
Winter Ball.
Winter Ball, okay.
Yeah.
And during that time, I already knew that he was a teacher. He wasn't big on Jubilee. He could sing and everything, but he wasn't big on Jubilee. He wanted to teach. And I also knew that he was long-winded. And there was a time, I think it was your first year that you came, I think it was, you rolled out the offering table and just told us to stare at it.
Yep.
And we stared at it, and I'm gonna tell you, it was already strange, but it was Lewis, so it was like, okay, this is a teaching point. But it was even almost a little bit uncomfortable because we spent so long staring at it. And then, now this is back in the day before these digital flat screen TVs and all, that we used to have the big tube TVs. And he said, now this is, he said something to the degree, maybe not verbatim, but this is uncomfortable to you now, but you'll go home and stare at that box for hours. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
My point is, this is what we are hearing in these videos and what we are seeing today. This is Lewis. I remember when you joined the military, it was a shock. Even though I was a military brat, which means that my father was in the military and we traveled around the world with him, we were taught that you don't go into the military. And here was Elder Lewis, who had gone into the military. Now, before this, Elder Lewis was someone I had heard about, walking the freeways to get to convocation with his mother, sleeping in Jacob's Hotel when necessary. That's the Elder Lewis I knew. And now all of a sudden he's joined the military. It's like, oh my goodness, what has happened? But even with him joining the military, he had a congregation of people, people following him for Bible study, because he was still doing the works of a house of prayer missionary in the military, on the ships, out in the sea. So much that when they landed, when they came around, he wouldn't have to be with them. You could tell because these people, they came to the house of prayer. They were ready to go. I mean, they were in knowledge of the laws, the rules, the regulations, how to conduct the service, how to conduct them their own selves, how to greet people. They could go to a house on the other coast and, just blend in with House of Prayer members because they were so well taught. You could see, like, the spirit of Lewis on them. You could see Lewis. Oh, man, I could see it. By how they talked, how they acted, how they understood things. You could see that. A little bit further, one of our people that have been on the phone, Josh Edwards, he's from the Sacramento area out in Lincoln. This man was already establishing his own, I'm not to say his, but a Bible study. And he was bringing people, I'm talking about they were in their late teens, early 20s, young Caucasian people. They had their own Bible study established. As the pastor of Sacramento, I would go to their, I think I invited myself or something like that, but I would go to their Bible study, and then they would come to the service in Sacramento every once in a while. But I never pushed them to do that. Part of that reason is because in my mind, I was like, okay, that's going to be another house right there. But my point is the quality of the people that he brought. Not only did Josh start a Bible study, he had people coming. One particular service was a friend of Josh's that was going to his Bible study. He started coming to service in Sacramento. He donated an entire drum set. Pearl is the brand called Pearl, and it was the line called Expert or Expertise one. A full drum kit.
Yeah.
He donated that to the House of Prayer. Okay, that's one great thing that he did. Not only that, he had his best friend, who was a Sikh Indian, coming to the House of Prayer and to the Bible studies too. But he also invited his mom to a Sunday service one time. Now check this out. At that Sunday service, I was preaching, and in my preaching, I got up and I said, Jesus is dead. This little white lady in Oak Park, Sacramento, California, the hood, 4th Avenue, the street that Mozzie, the rapper, gangster rapper, is from, that he represents. She stood up in this congregation and said, Jesus lives. She was so bold. The fear of being in the projects, not in the projects, in the hood, the fear of being on 4th Avenue, a fear of being in a predominantly black congregation, none of that bothered her. She was so bold that she believed that Jesus lives. She stood up in that place and said, Jesus lives. That was a great thing. But not only that, the response to that was the Sikh, his head tied up, full beard and everything. Ma'am, if you believe in the resurrection of Jesus, then you first of all have to believe that he died. And if you don't believe that he's dead, what does the resurrection matter? All of this event happened in 3544th Avenue in Sacramento, California. A Hindu stood up to a little Caucasian lady who stood up to this black pastor in the hood, in this black church, as a result of one of the members who was a result of the Bible study that Josh had brought. Not only that just shows you the quality of this person. His name is Ryan. Okay. Very good man. He also invited his father to come out. His father came out another time, And he came to me after service. He said, Elder Perry, he said, I want to write you a check. And he's sitting there in his checkbook writing a check for what you have done to my son, for my son. Wow. He is a different person. He is doing all these great things. He wrote a check for $1,000. I said, sir, I can't accept that check. First of all, I have not done anything. The changes that he's making in his life, he's doing on his own with his relationship with God. I'm just here in Sacramento. I'm just pastoring whatever I'm doing. I'm not doing anything. He changed the name on the check to the United House of Prayer for All People, but still contributed that $1,000 because his son was making such great changes in his life. Mm-hmm. Not because of me, but because of Josh. Josh started that Bible study that brought that dude in. And I mean, all these great things. So my point, members, is Brother Lewis is a valuable asset to the organization, and his efforts are for the purpose of bettering the organization in that it should be fulfilling its purpose. There are people who have opinions. They'll work G-class, they'll work passive office, they'll come out every night, and they'll tell you that they disagree with what's going on. They'll share their opinion. But your opinion is not doing anything for the organization if you don't put forth an effort to make it happen. Not only is Brother Lewis putting forth an effort, he's a person who has a history of having faith, walking in that faith, and having a positive outcome as a result of it. I wanted to take this moment to state this because the people who make these statements saying that you're upset because you didn't get a position or anything, do y'all even know him? And ask people who do know him. And when they say he's a troublemaker, ask them how. How is he a troublemaker? Why is he a troublemaker? And they will tell you, well, because he stands up against things and he makes statements. So I just wanted to take that moment to let people know that this is a person, Brother Lewis and myself, we are people who we love the house of prayer and we want better for our brothers and sisters, and we have the resources in the organization to do better for our brothers and sisters, and the leadership who should be concerned about these things is for some reason not at all concerned and not willing to do a thing to help. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Mm-hmm. It's very much appreciated, and it's needed so that everybody would contemplate on what it is that you just said. And in that same manner, I'd like to also just touch on you. Not that we're, throwing around flattery or allotting, compliments towards one another, but it is the truth. When it comes to the entire organization, I don't know of anybody that I've heard, I can't think of anyone, that did what it is that you've done. You talked about being on one of the worst, more active, not worse, corners in a city that's known for certain things.
Oh, yeah, 436 Oak Park in the P.
Right. And I mean, to assume that there was gang activity would be an understatement, right?
You're right. There's a gang named after the street. It was 4th Avenue and then 4th Avenue Bloods.
Y'all see what I'm saying? So I didn't have to say it. My point is, that's where he was on a nightly basis, outside the house of prayer, talking to people passing by. There's people that we know that won't even drive through neighborhoods with that kind of activity.
Right, right.
Let alone to be out on the sidewalk engaging with people. What was that movie, Boys in the Hood, where you might get a drive-by any moment, right?
Right.
You're to hear you share, even Josh talked about how he admired you because he had not seen also. Now, these men, they traveled around the organization. Not only did they travel, but even in LA and Dallas, they would see people from the organization come to where they were, so they got to meet them. In LA, they're out there for a week. Josh talked about being there in the cafeteria at Grace Apartment Hotel to just help clean and cook and serve the members. Him, Kill, Herrera. Gillum now is with us. Gillum went from West Coast to East Coast. But these men coming in from the Navy, they didn't see pastors doing what he was doing. You're talking about prostitutes coming inside so that they can go and pray. Gang bangers, dealers, addicts who were just out on the strip. And for those of you who know the hood, y'all know what I'm talking about. They're on the strip for a reason. But yet, here's somebody who said something to move on them to go ahead inside. And he didn't go inside with them because I don't trust what y'all going to do. I need to keep my eyes on you. Y'all out here on the strip. I know what you're up to. Go inside, and he let them stay inside as long as they wanted.
Yeah.
While he waited outside. I heard that correctly, right?
Correct, yeah. I said, y'all go in there. What you need is in there. I'm not what you need. What you need is in there. Go pray, go sit on the pew, you go get on your knees, whatever you want to do. If you need some water, there's a water fountain, the air conditioner's on, the lights are on. Go in there and spend your time with Most High in private. Maybe somebody else will come in too, but y'all don't need me in there telling you, okay, now we're going to have testimony service. Okay, now we're going to have the announcement. No. Go spend your time with the Most High.
How many pastors have y'all heard like that? Act like that. Treat the members like that. Now, we're not even talking about members of the house of prayer. We got pastors that don't even treat the members, longtime members, lifelong members that well. And you're talking about a pastor who's treating absolute strangers that well. So, again, to your point, for those individuals who have anything that you're saying towards, about, or not considering Brother Perry's contributions to the house of prayer, and not only his contribution to the house of prayer, but when I say house of prayer, I'm talking about the community. I'm not talking about the organization. But the community is its people. I talk about community. His affinity and his affection towards the house of prayer is, he refers to it as his tribe.
Yeah.
Not talking about the organization, leadership, and what they're, the members. So you said something that I wanted to touch on as well, because we have seniors that's going through it right now. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you, Father. We now have, in some of the properties where the seniors are, we now have posters that were put up on the wall because of, I believe, what we put out on the video. And what I'm talking about is, we had concerns about a person who had reached out by email to the members of the House of Prayer. And I'm going to read this real quick. It says zero tolerance policy at the top. And then it has no violence with a bar going through violence, and two of them, one on each side, and zero harm. And so there's this warning about no knives, guns, or other weapons, no punching, hitting, pushing, throwing objects, or spitting, no unwanted or inappropriate touching, no verbal threats or bullying, no cursing, shouting, racial slurs, or cultural insults. Listen and follow behavioral instructions from staff. Report issues and concerns immediately. And there's a note that in this particular state, it is a crime to assault a healthcare worker and may be prosecuted as a felony. This establishment reserves the right to take appropriate measures, including removal from our property and or criminal prosecution. Now, that went up a few days ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. Why did they put that up? Because we talked about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because that man touched you when you had the bullhorn. I don't know where did that come from.
Well, this is at one of our senior living establishments. And I put out a video about the email that went out circulating throughout the organization about a young man who talked about the senior living establishments and how much stuff is taking place there that people don't know about. How our seniors are being mistreated.
Yeah.
Right? So remembering that, how does it hit you now that this notice just went up on the wall? Think there's something they're trying to protect?
Right, like they're trying to save face or something.
Mm-hmm. People know what's going on. And all of a sudden, this goes up on the wall after the video. There's no concern for the seniors. They're not thinking about them. That's just so that they can say, in the event something come up, well, no, look at what we have on. We don't tolerate that.
Right. You know, I helped start a school in Sacramento. My frat brothers and myself, it was three of us from the same fraternity. We started a school, and things would come up. You know, the students would do crazy things all the time. After they would do things, we'll put up these signs and posters, and it would be just for that reason. When somebody come and say that such and such did this and that, we'll let them know what we promote this safety, you know, but it's always after the fact.
Right.
And we know whatever that it's about has happened.
Right. Just to save face.
Right.
And it really doesn't mean anything. And in fact, sometimes after putting up a notice like this, the treatment will get worse. Because now they got something in their mind on the wall where they can hide behind in case somebody says something. Well, no, that's not going on. And the intimidation level increases. So I want to say this too. Based on what you just shared, as well as I just shared, pertaining to the care that we have and the love that we have for the people of the organization. And it would be the same, I'm sure, in any institution, because that's what we feel for people, period. It's not that you're a House of Prayer member. It's that you're people, and we just happen to be brought up in the House of Prayer. Would that be accurate for yourself?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And therefore, our desire for the outcome of all this to be better is near and dear to our hearts. But particularly for the seniors, These things not only ought not be, but will be immediately turned around. There's things, I don't want to go too far, there's things that's being set up and put into place. So if there's any of you that are still dealing with abuse, verbal abuse, any type of mistreatment, any types of threats, any types of intimidation, by all means, get in touch with those who you can get in touch with so that they can get in touch with us. And don't think that just because nothing has happened so far, that nothing is going to happen. Along with that, the individuals that are in the apartments, take notes, take pictures. When you see issues, whether it's the repairs not being done, stuff that is just broken down, nothing has been taken care of, the conditions of the outside, conditions of the inside, same thing. Take notes, document it, and send us pictures. The houses of prayers around the organization, certain things not being done. I know that we had in the house that we went to, there were senior citizens, females in the restroom hollering for somebody to come out of the service to go into the restroom to open the door for them to get out the stall because the stall door was broke. And this has happened on more than one occasion. The conditions of these buildings, they look good in pictures, but when you get up close, you see a whole lot of problems. When you get inside, you'll see even more problems. And this is why y'all don't understand why they're having street baptisms. It's because the pools are broken. And they're not putting money into the maintenance or the repairs of those pools to baptize with. That's why everywhere around the organization, they're in the street. Because it's cheap to go to the street. You just put in a citation to have the fire department come out and hook up the hose. I don't think that they have to pay them anything for that. Right? And it looks good in pictures, but the public don't know. It's because the leader is not paying a dime to have the repairs done to the facilities and the house of prayer. So, again, all these things will not be going on. And the members need to understand, just like that, every one of these issues resolved. If not immediately fixed, at least you'd know that they're being taken care of as soon as a complaint goes in. Period. And now is not the time to be fighting us because of the economy, because it's getting worse. And you have no anything being done for you already, and there's nothing that's going to be done for you going forward. I don't care how many promises they make. They've shown you over the last how many years? We've been here over 100 years. Ain't nothing going to happen. No, something's going to happen, but ain't nothing going to happen to help the members. He's right about that because they don't care about the members. They only care about taking. So why continue to take from people when the people are already having problems? You're doing nothing for the people. So, again, y'all need to be talking to one another instead of talking to Brother Perry about telling him what he needs to be doing. Y'all need to be talking to each other to convince one another what y'all need to be doing to convince the people in the house of prayer to get on board. So whether they do or not, we're done reaching out to the leaders. We don't need to anyway, since they've been terminated, last Saturday. So they've been dismissed, and all of the pastors. So right now, the organization should be on a standstill, even though I know they're not. But you're going to be surprised when you see what comes of all of this. In fact, I think the organization is quieter now than I've ever seen it. I've never seen the house of prayer this quiet. At least they were talking before Saturday. Lewis, and them people over there. And since Saturday, I haven't heard a peep. So I know that the members are concerned. I know they're worried. I know they're scared. They don't know what to expect. So it's going to be interesting going forward. You all don't know how soon we're going to get a notification of a date, a place, and a time that we're going to be meeting the leaders, the former leaders of the House of Prayer, in a room full of people who's going to hear their side of the story, which they ain't got nothing to defend themselves with, since all of this evidence is stacked up against them. So we're going to be getting notified when and where to meet and what time. And as soon as we do, I will give you all a heads up so that everybody will know, okay, we got a notification and this is the date. We're going to go before this municipality, these individuals. And for those who want to come and support or see what's going on, then come and do so. I'm still thinking about that, whether to go that route or not. But right now, this is our waiting phase. So whenever we hear it, we're going there, and they're going to determine and they're going to decide what happens with the leaders of the organization, since they never took us up on the opportunity to fix this problem, which is really why they didn't take us up, because they know that the only way to resolve it is for them to get their stuff and get out the office. We're not telling them to leave, get their hat and coat and leave like they told us. We're just telling them to get their hat and coat and leave their office. You can sit out here in the pews and wear the title of a brother or a mister, but you don't need to be sitting in no office any longer. And of course, that's why they didn't want to, because it's humiliating and it's embarrassing. But they brought this on themselves. We didn't do this. Brother Perry didn't do this to them. I didn't do this to them. Nobody did this to them. They did everything to put themselves in this predicament by hurting the people, lying to the people, manipulating the people, and deceiving the people. So this is where we are. Hopefully, just a few more days or a few more weeks, the organization is going to be going through an overhaul. We'll be getting reformed, rebuilt, and y'all will see. And you will see that you should have done this when we first started, because the whole organization right now would be at a point where the members wouldn't be worried about what the government's doing if the people had just jumped in and done what we could have done back then. But anyway, here we are. We know that there's a purpose and a reason for everything. So we thank you for your time. Brother Perry, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And I'll give you the floor if there's anything else you want to say before we go ahead and close out.
I'm just thankful for you, and I hope people are taking heed to our words.
We appreciate you, and just so that y'all know who just heard what he said, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Even if you don't take heed, that is entirely okay. We all have free will. But whether you support what we're doing, whether you support the former leaders of the House of Prayer, it doesn't really matter, because this is going forward anyway, and it's going to be left in the hands of other people to decide what happens with the leadership of the United House of Prayer for All People as we go forward. If they're sustaining what it is that we do, every one of you who's upset right now, there's going to be great, big old, giant, smiley faces on your faces, because whatever happens with this government thing, it should not be affecting the members. And any non-members who come looking for assistance in the organization, they'll be able to find that assistance as well. So this is what we're supposed to have been doing from the jump. The problem is they've been lying to us the whole time, while they sitting up there in great big mansions, and the members going through whatever they're going through, suffering in mildew-infested apartments. And same thing with the houses. So get on board, don't get on board. It's your call. Either way, we'll be seeing in the next few days or weeks what becomes of this entire movement. In the meantime, we'll see you all in the next video. Thank you again, Brother Perry.
Thank you, sir. Y'all take care.